Hold your applause, please. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Feigenbaum, for yielding your time to me. My name is Chris Cafero. I'm Larry's oldest son. It is quite an honor to be here to address you all. I sort of grew up in this inn and in this room. I have distinct memories of listening to Chris Shays and Dick Moshe speak while me and my siblings and the Gennario boys chucked shrimp cocktail at each other in the back. So it's nice to be here in a different capacity. I will say my presence here is a little unlikely for a couple reasons. The first is when my father announced that he was retiring and not seeking re-election back in 2014, I think my family and I figured that we were all done. No more pamphlets, no more lawn signs, no more conventions. But alas, here we are. My dad always said public service is a calling, and he is answering that call once again. Or as Michael Corleone put it in The Godfather Part 3, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. But my presence here is also unlikely because of who I am. I'm in my 20s. I'm an actor and comedian living in New York, and I am a Republican, which you don't see very often. The circles I run in, certainly in my industry and in my age group, there aren't a lot of us. And oftentimes I'm asked by people when they find out that I'm a Republican, why? Or how could you? And that's not new to me. I've dealt with that question my entire life, having to defend my dad or my family and our political standing. And I always explain it by saying I'm a specific type of Republican. I'm a Connecticut Republican, a Norwalk Republican, or a Cafero Republican. And it's based on the values that I learned in this room from all of you, many of you, and in my living room and in my kitchen table from my parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins who are here today. And it's predicated on family values and a strong moral code and compassion and compromise. And it's a brand that I'm very proud to defend. But if I'm being honest, in recent years and months, it's become increasingly more difficult to defend and to answer that question, why? And a lot of my peers are being pushed away because there seems to be a lack of civility and a lack of decorum and respect in the political arena. And people my age are disheartened and discouraged and disenfranchised. And it's easy, it would be easy, to write us off, to write my generation off as a lost vote or a lost cause. But I beg that you not do that, because we are desperate for someone to fill that void of fiscal responsibility and social moderation, of respect and civility. We need it more than ever. And we are a generation that is enthusiastic and energized and educated, and we vote. And we need you, and you need us. So please, I invite you to reach out and embrace us, engage us, learn from us, and teach us so that we can improve the future, not only for my generation, but for yours and for future generations. And that starts by nominating and electing the people in this room, and most importantly, my father, Larry Cafero. When I was trying to figure out what I was going to say tonight, I was debating whether or not to bring up his political history. Of course, he is seeking judge or probate, which is very much an apolitical position. It is a position that requires someone who seeks fairness and who leads with kindness and intelligence and compassion, and certainly there's nobody that better exemplifies those qualities than my father. And I've seen that both from a political perspective and a personal perspective. And while it is an apolitical position, that he seeks, I think it would be disingenuous to ignore his political record, because it's one that he should be, and I am, extremely proud of. And I think he deserves the office that he seeks, not in spite of his political history, but because of it. In his capacity as state representative from Norwalk and as the leader of the Republican Party, he has shown unbelievable leadership. He showed it by practicing bipartisan leadership, incorporating people from across the aisle to come to agreements, which has earned him respect universally of his peers, which we saw at a very special moment when he retired at his testimonial. He was able to unify his Republican caucus while still respecting individuality of his members, never forcing anyone to vote against their conscience. He showed it when he put forth budgets that were tough but fair, that emphasized a strong and stable future. And he showed it in the wake of unspeakable tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, when he worked tirelessly to ensure that laws were passed that would protect our children and our community while also protecting our Constitution. It is a sterling record. It is one that I am extremely proud of, and it is one that unequivocally qualifies him for the office he seeks. But that's the Larry Cafero that you know, or that you can Wikipedia. The Larry Cafero that you might not see is a little different. He is a man of great heart and humor and compassion. You can see it when he's coaching the bocce team for the Special Olympics. You can see it in the way he cares for my mother, my grandmother, his brother, my siblings, and his family members. You could see it when he embraces strangers, classmates of mine who had torn shoes or clothing, and he would go out and buy them new materials without ever asking for any thanks. You could see it when he took in members of our family into our home when they had nowhere else to go. That's who my dad is. That's how he leads, with his heart. But perhaps my favorite story and the experience that I think best exemplifies his qualification for this office is his work as the expulsion officer for the city of Norwalk. Basically, he was charged with figuring out whether or not students should be kicked out of school. And if you want to make friends in high school, telling them that your dad is in charge of expulsions is not a good way to do it. But one of my favorite stories, when I was in kindergarten and first grade, I was in school with a young man who I won't name, but he was a bully. He beat me up and pushed me around, and it was tough. And in first grade, I built up the courage to stand up to him and fight back, and we reached a mutual understanding and respect, and I'll say friendship. And so over the course of my schooling, we maintained that respect and that friendship. But this young man was from a very troubled background. He came from a very unfortunate family situation, a broken home. He was extremely smart. He was so talented, but he wasn't given many great opportunities. Not a lot of people gave him a chance. And he ran into trouble throughout our schooling career with the law and with administrators at our school. And so sure enough, in high school, he ended up in front of my dad as a student at an expulsion hearing. And my father listened to his story and decided that rather than expelling him from school, he would suspend him for the remainder of the semester and then allow him to come back for the start of the next semester. So that next semester starts, and I'm standing outside Brian McMahon High School, and coming from across the parking lot, I see this young man, and fear shoots down my spine because my father just suspended him for the last semester. And he approached me, and while he had every right to pummel me and punish me and push me around, he stuck out his hand and he shook my hand and he said, "Thank you. Your dad saved my life." And sorry. It was such a special moment for me. It was something I'm extremely proud of him for. But that's how he leads. He doesn't lead to punish or to prove people wrong, but he leads with his heart, with an eye on rehabilitating and giving people a second chance. And he took a kid who never got a second chance and gave him one. And that's the type of judge he will be, that's the type of leader he will be, and that's why he deserves this nomination, and he deserves to be elected in November. And I'm so proud of him. He is the best man I know. I love him to death. I am so proud to call him a mentor, a friend, and my father. And I am honored to nominate him for the office of Judge of Probate for Wilton and Norwalk. Thank you very much.